Welcome to Millennials on the Move virtual style.
Yes, virtual style.
Yes. So I have done a few of these. One of my first interviews was Marcus Gilmore, and he lives in Dallas, Texas. So he was a social media marketing influencer, if you will, and he also worked for Tom Joyner. So he was super big in the radio industry. So like I was like, bro, we have to do a Zoom. And so now that everything has transpired and people cannot come to me because of safety reasons, I just thought, how about I just continue this whole virtual saga and kick it back up with one of my beautiful friends and sister from Boyd Anderson High School. Go S2S. I just thought I'd just throw this out there. Courtney Saunders is actually one of my good friends. We were supposed to be out of the country, actually returning today. Yeah, today. Carnival, Jamaica Carnival, as you guys know, was postponed until October. It wasn't completely canceled, but it was postponed. So that was a trip that we all were looking forward to. Courtney's in a group chat. We expressed our woes about not being able to go, but it's for safety reasons, and we totally understand people are losing their lives because they're not following the rules, or they have respiratory issues, or they're older, or they're more prone to the COVID-19. So for everyone who's lost anyone, my prayers go out to you, condolences. But guys, just stay in, social distance. Zoom is lit. It honestly really is. Someone gets your ID, that's on you. Figure out how to change it. So, Courtney, before we get into it, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like what you like to do for fun, or what you're doing during COVID-19? That's even better.
Okay. So what I'm doing during COVID-19 is I'm working from home. So let's start there. I'm doing virtual book clubs. So
Woo!
we do them in person. And to be honest, I feel like, this whole stay-at-home order, it's just revealing a lot to me. And I think I'm going to stick with them being virtual. I do love interpersonal experiences, being able to meet people in person,
right?
Find glasses together, but I feel like I get a lot of support in many different areas, people in different locations, and I always hear people say, "Oh, I wish you were doing it here."
Right.
I think I'm gonna stick with it virtually, or maybe I'll do like once a quarter, do something virtually. So
cool. So fun. Anything you've been doing for fun? Any virtual happy hours, or
I was a part of hosting for this virtual pajama party. So I was actually asked to speak on mental health check-ins. So I actually did that this past Sunday. So that was with this organization called Black Girls Rising. Today I actually just booked another virtual event where I'm going to be doing some empowerment, and I just got it today, y'all. It's called Strut and Slay. I had to look at my phone and make sure.
Come on, Strut and Slay.
So I've been, getting some virtual bookings there just to do stuff like women empowerment. So that's fun. The virtual pajama party was really nice. I just love how everybody's getting creative during this time.
Right, I agree.
Instead of just like, doing nothing. And if you are doing nothing, that's cool too.
That's cool too.
But I've been doing that. I've been hanging out with my friend. I'm actually like in just like this weird place where everything is changing really fast, but at the same time, I'm very like at peace with everything and optimistic. So,
See, that's the thing about it. You can think of it one or two ways. It's like, this is horrible, this is for the worst, my life is ending. Or you can say, you know what, this is a beautiful opportunity for me to actually learn something about myself and even others around me, and why this is happening. Like, I think a lot of people think, they ask the question why, and it's so negative, like it has a negative connotation, like, why is this happening? Instead of, oh, this is happening so that I can respond or show up in the way that I should have. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it teaches us how to be more self-reflective and self-assessive. You know what I'm saying? Like, we get really content with the way things are. And sometimes when it happens too much at one time, I get overwhelmed. So when I called you was like, it's a lot going on. It's a lot of you. So I was like,
I'm very proud of myself how I've been handling things.
That's good.
And I'm just kind of like, every day I'm just like, okay, so we gonna keep adding to this pile, but I can't complain because I'm not stressed right now.
That's
And
good.
typically I would be like, all right, I can't
I'm
take
done.
it.
Take me out. Take me out of the game. I'm done. So you know what? Thank you for sharing that. Because I do think that we're doing these interviews, people understand that we're way more alike than we think we are. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. And I know, not getting too deep, but knowing that things are overwhelming and you're able to, cope with it in a very healthy way, it seems like. So kudos to you for figuring out how to not overstress or overwhelm yourself with everything that's going on. So this leads me to what we're here for. So Millennials on the Move is a platform that I set up for entrepreneurs, bloggers, nonprofit organization owners, initiative starters, for people to connect, right? So it's like a platform for everyone to basically kind of like meet you where you are. Everyone starts somewhere, and all of our journeys are not a crystal stair or, the Tyler Perry, where you could just be homeless and all of a sudden, boom, you've been writing plays for however long, and now you that, really? Everybody has that story, but everybody has a story. And so I like to do these interviews so that we can actually get to know the people that we're supporting, right? So Courtney does a number of things. She's hosting events virtually now, but the book club, we need more wine. Gabrielle Union.
That's gonna be
give me my book. I know. I saw it. I was like, this is Thursday. I hope I get it by then. But yeah, I think that is a brilliant idea. You do own a blog, Passionate Women, right? And CS stands for Courtney Saunders, I'm guessing. But you never know, like, play on words and things like that. But I just want to ask, where did it start? Like, is it aligned with what you're doing in life, like for your 9 to 5? Like, is Passionate Women like just a extension of who you are, or that just kind of came out of the blue?
So, I actually started my blog initially back in 2014. So right. I was still in college, and literally it was just something I did one day. So it was spring break actually, and every year for spring break, I would just go home. I'd go to Fort Lauderdale, do the same old thing, go to the beach, hit up all my friends from like back at home or high school. And like a lot of my college friends were going on trips. And I don't know why I wasn't going. It wasn't like I couldn't go or I didn't try to go. Like, it just never crossed my mind. I just knew I was going home.
Right.
So one year I was like actually catching the bus home. I didn't have a car at the time. And like, I was just like, I'm doing the same thing over and over. And like, I was sad. My friends was going to Puerto Rico and Mexico. And I'm just like, why am I not doing anything?
Right.
So I started making a bucket list of things for me to do over my spring break. So my first blog post that I made was literally my bucket list of things to do over spring break. And I came up with the tagline, turning negatives into positives. So that was for my first blog. And later it became the tagline of my blog. And it kind of became my platform to share, to do storytelling as a way of motivation. Right. So I would share anytime there was like a negative, situation going on in my life, I would write blogs on it, and it would be turning negatives into positives. So it literally was one of those things that I just got up and did while I was on spring break back in 2014. And then from there, it just continued to grow. As far as the Passionate Woman, I came up with that because I'm a person, I like to think that I'm very passionate. I'm very passionate about writing. And at the time when I started my blog, it was a time where blogging, most blog pages, it was anonymous. It was like somebody's anonymous diary. So that's why I did Passionate Woman CS. And like, if you look at my website, I've updated it now, but from the beginning, I never had my name on it. So I always thought to myself, if I ever wanted to say something crazy or, there's no way anyone can trace it back.
Right.
So it started off there, but I say it's perfect timing because I'm actually in the process of transitioning. So I'm going to be relaunching my blog. So I'll go ahead and just, share. I haven't really shared with anybody, but I'm actually going to be going as CourtneySaunders.com.
Let's go.
The reason is kind of like what you said, how does it flow with where I am and what I do? So I work in HR. So I've been in several different HR positions. And I like to think of myself as a person that's a people advocate. I love to help people, and it's on many different levels. if I can motivate a friend on a bad day, I'll do that. And if I could create a love language for myself,
Right.
love to give and receive is accountability. And I think that's just kind of what my blog has been about, is me sharing, like, all right, I went through this, I got through this. So again, it's turning that negative into a positive.
Right.
Now I'm holding you accountable to do the same. Because like you said, we all go through similar things, not the same thing, but it's my way of holding others accountable and also myself. So it's like, if I'm going to make a blog post and give these tips or give these advice, then now I'm like, I got to live up to it.
Right.
Up to it. So I would say, just to answer the question full circle, it has become who I am, because again, once I started it, I was in college. And it probably was before I selected the major to go into HR. But now I'm working in HR, so that's why I'm transitioning it over, because I want to come out of the initial hidden image of it to just be passionate woman and not have my name in it. Because I literally have people that like passionate woman. You know how people get used to your social media name, and I'm just like, okay. And then like I just want to move out of that, and I want to be able to merge my personal and my professional lives together. So I'll be able to do that once I relaunch the site.
Okay, cool. So when you relaunch the site, you're gonna call it CourtneySaunders.com, right?
Right.
So are you? Because I know bloggers. You tend to push buttons, right? And some of your opinions or the things that you feel about, let's just say, political topics or just women issues in general, a lot of people have an opportunity to attack you. And so now that CourtneySaunders.com, it's you, right? It's Courtney. It's coming from you. Have you been thinking about how to deal with still being your authentic self without worrying about what people are going to say about the way that you feel? Because it's all opinions, but people still attack people for feeling the way that they feel, so how do you plan on navigating that?
So I'm at this place in my life now where how do I say this?
I don't give up.
Pretty much. Like, there's nothing that can stop me or back me down. So like I've been I've been in many different HR roles, and one of the things that I found just with working in HR is, like, I'm a big person when it comes to integrity, and I'm also an individual. So I've learned how to stand firm on my 2 feet, whereas before, it's not that I didn't know how to, but I also would try to protect it in some kind of ways, because things that could come from it. But I think I'm at a place in my life where I'm very confident in everything that I know. I also feel like I understand respect when it comes to other people. So I like to think that I have a way of, being able to still uphold respect for others.
Right.
Even holding my own opinion, and I know how to stand my ground. So one of the ways that I have learned to separate, I have 2 Instagrams. So I have my Instagram for my blog, and then I have a personal one.
Right.
And I have people say, why don't you have 2? But just from a marketing standpoint, like, if I have a low quality photo, I'm not going to put it on my blog page, because it's not good for business.
Right.
I put that on my personal page. Or if I want to do, like, family or friend birthday shout outs, I can do that on my blog's Instagram story, but like, it's just not fitting to the content of what I'm trying to put out. So I know some people, they frown upon the idea of having 2 different ones. But also I have, like, many strangers that, become friends, like, of my business, or friends of, like, the blog that I have on my blog page. But then on my personal page, if I don't know you, you're not going to accept it. Like, I have over 100 requests on, like, my personal page, but it's made truthfully to be personal.
Right.
And I feel like there's a thin line between, being, like, authentic, and then also just kind of having certain aspects of your life that's just personal.
Exactly.
When it comes to, like, family and relationships, I don't necessarily need to put that on my blog. Now, if I decide I want to write about relationships, then I can.
That's different. Right.
So yeah.
Okay. So an important thing that you said that I want to point out to everyone: branding and marketing. If you're going to be in any line of business, you're going to start any initiative, any nonprofit, you got to separate it. I mean, it just makes sense. And once you start developing what it is to be a marketer, to be an influencer, to be just someone that is in the limelight. You're trying to take control. You're trying to establish who you are. You have to separate the personal, right? Yeah. So I have 4 different Instagram accounts. I'm a lot, whatever. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if I have a market that only wants to hear how emotional and how inspirational my life has been, why would I overcloud that with business stuff? Why would I overcloud that with my personal? You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to know your target and what your target audience and what they want. So I think it was perfect that you did that. And most people who keep it the same, someone told me, like, Micah, I feel like you have enough followers on your personal page. Why don't you just basically support yourself and just put all the pages, everything, all your content, just put it into this one because you already have so much people. I was like, yeah, but as you and I are totally different. Whatever I put out, that's just me. You know what I'm saying? I'm just that type of person. I don't mind. But when I'm serious about something, I want to talk about that, and I want to talk to the people who care about it. So right. It's different when you have your friends from like 5th grade and you trying to talk about something real and they steady talking about how nice your hair looks or how pretty you are or whatever. They're missing the point. And so I'm
relating to the content.
And you need people to not miss your point and not to be over bombarded with so many things that they're not looking for. So for everyone out there, branding is very important. Separating your personal life from your business life, you will learn that is also important. No matter how many followers you have. I know. But if you're promoting an event, you can cross. You can cross promote. That's what I'll say.
Every now and then I'll post a flyer like from like the book club and stuff on my personal page.
Right.
Because I know that I have like separate people on 2 different ones. There's some people that don't know that I have a blog.
Right.
They are just on my personal page, and I feel like I do promote myself enough, whereas if you're really interested, then you'll follow the other page.
Exactly.
So.
You'll follow it. And I think the right people who want the content you're putting out will go. Like, I don't think there's a loss happening there. Like, yes, you may have a lot of followers over here and you don't over here, but that's what building is for, right? Like, we all have to start somewhere. Another thing I want to point out, followers do matter because that's just where we're going. But I think rich content matters more. So I would do things that people want to see from you, and those people will just follow. Like, do the right hashtags, content build enough, always be in the presence of your audience, and you will be fine. You will eventually get there. And if not, 200 people, if that's all you're reaching, that is a lot of people. Yeah. Like, I think we forget that that's still a person. Like, a person is following you. Even if it's one person, that one person needs whatever you're giving to them. Right. So let's stop downplaying how many followers you have. They are people, okay? And people are following you because they need something. They see something in you. So celebrate each and every person that decides to read your blog, that decides to follow your page, that joins your book club. Like, like no matter what, I think it's very important to make sure that people feel important because they are. They're not just a number. You have anything to add before I go to the next question?
I was just going to add in there too. So my actual blog Instagram, it was actually a personal Instagram. So my new personal one is a new one. And one of the things that I would say, just for anybody that's thinking about, transitioning their personal page into a business one. And I did that years ago before understanding like marketing and things like that now. So my personal page, I probably only had for maybe 2 years. And I actually just started actively using it over the
Right. Because you take hiatuses from social media.
Right. Yeah, I definitely do. Yeah. But with the personal page, one of the things that like I've shared with someone is that that part about when you just change that is kind of, you've already mentioned it, but when it comes to the analytics and tracking the numbers and like who's truly into your content, it's a little bit harder because there's some people that were following you as your friend or as your classmate, but they don't necessarily want to follow you for whatever the business or whatever content you have. So then when you're looking at your numbers, it's not as accurate as you would want it to be, because this is just someone that's passive that was following you previously, but they may not be interested
into what you're doing
or the new product or whatever it is that you're promoting on the page. So it definitely messes with your analytics when you're looking at it for what it truly is. So that's something that I think is important for people to think about if anybody's thinking about transitioning their personal page.
Right. And so the analytics that she's talking about, you have to have a business page to see how many people are liking it, how many people are watching, how many people saved it, how many people sent it to someone. Like, it's all mapped out for you. So if you do have a personal page and you just want to know what's going on your page and what time is best to post for you because your followers are more engaged, like, these are the things that you start to learn when you get into marketing of your own business. Like, it's just certain analytics that Facebook has a whole, it is serious. They got like they have a lot more analytics than Instagram does, but they're both helpful because then you can see where your audience is. Is it more on Facebook or are they more on Instagram? And you can compare those numbers. So that's what Courtney is referring to when it comes to analytics. That is on a business profile. So everyone can change to a business profile. You can run ads, etc. You have to pay for them. But yeah, that's a whole nother thing. So thank you for sharing that, because I think it's really important when you are trying to, I guess, keep the people, but still not start off so small. Like, that is kind of, what stops everything from being true and authentic to what you're really looking for for your audience. So one thing I also want to touch on is the ability to juggle your homework life and also supporting your passions, right? So it's like, you're in HR, you're a people person regardless, so I don't think it's stressful for you, but dealing with everybody's stuff, that could possibly be crazy. So I just want you to touch a little bit on how you juggle having enough passion, if you will, to do what you really want to do when it comes to putting out the content you want for the people and your blog and women empowerment and things like that, when you still have a heavy load of HR going on in your head.
Well, I'll start by saying this. I started doing therapy. This was in 2000. When did I start? 2019. So it was last year. And one of the main reasons why I finally decided to go to therapy, now I knew I needed to go through, like, for childhood trauma reasons, but I was like, whatever, like, I'm strong.
I'll be all right.
But it was working in HR that kind of like gave me the push. And it was not so much because of, like, there was something wrong, but when you work in HR, I was working in a director role. I was in a role where I was a one-man person in HR a period of time. And even though I added new people to my team, people felt like, I only trust you, so I'm coming to you. I don't want to talk to my supervisor, I'm going to come and talk to you. And I would take everybody's problems home with me. Yeah. And I didn't have time for my own problems, so it began to affect me. So I started doing therapy. So I would say that definitely helps, at least on the mental side of things. Is anybody that's working in HR have an interest in it, you kind of got to learn how to separate the two, or you will be going freaking crazy. But one of the things that I do for myself is, like, I have my planner right down here. So I use my planner a lot. And on Saturdays are my coffee Saturdays. And right now, with us being at a stay-at-home order, it is definitely harder for me because I need to get out of the house so that I can, like, focus. So for me, outside of the stay-at-home order, every Saturday or Sunday, if my Saturdays are busy, once I do my, like, morning cleaning to make sure, like, the house is together, I usually on Saturdays spend about 4 to 6 hours at a coffee shop. So like, I always post pictures on my Instagram of being, like, in different coffee shops, and people think it's just to be cute, but it's literally, this is my way to work on my personal passions, because the reality is you can't always, when you get off of work, to work on certain things. So for me, by me dedicating that certain time each Saturday, I'm being able to stay afloat. And one of those things too is just kind of having realistic expectations for the people around you. So one of the things, like, you have it set up on your email, mine is the same. is that if somebody sends me an email, I have it on there that I'll get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. Mm-hmm. Because reality is I have my personal life, I have my 9-to-5 life, and then I have my personal business life.
Right.
So just kind of having that transparency of communication with others to say, hey, I see that you're reaching out to me. Let me follow up. I have my planner to write down everything, to have myself accountable. Right. And then I'm scheduling time to, you know, work on those things, because I know some people, they live by like, you know, there's no sleep, like they'll stay up all night to work. That's not me.
Yeah, and it's important to know who you are.
Yeah, that's not me. Yeah, I'll probably still stay up and scroll on social media.
But I ain't gonna work.
I would rather schedule the time out during like hours where I'm awake and I can produce. Right. So I schedule time on the weekends. So you would typically see me in a different coffee shop. And I try to support small businesses too. I love going to like Black-owned coffee shops. So cool. Experience there too. So
that's what's up. So I think it's also important that you recognize what you're good at, and recognize what works for you. A lot of people try to do it the way that such and such is doing, and they read a book about this profound person that did it this way, so they're mimicking everything they're doing. Like, these people have built, you know, a type of structure for themselves, and I think it's important to know that you need to create your own structure.
Right.
Like, that's just what it is. So for everyone who's struggling to figure out what their structure is, how about you just try something new? Don't do something that you read or something that you heard about. Just do something that works for you. I can stay up all night just because I can't go to sleep. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way my body is wired. But like you said, sometimes, I don't do it most times, but when I get going, I can't stop. Like, it's like, oh, okay, and we're here. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's a totally different thing to know, but I'm not a morning person. I'm just not. So I'm not scheduling a Zoom for 9. I'm not going to be there. Like, yeah. I'm just not. So in your entrepreneur endeavors, I think it's also good to know the business side of you. Some clients may need you to get up at 8 o'clock because they do have a busy day, and you just gonna have to swallow that pill. But it's also important to have business hours. Like, people hit you up and they want to discuss certain things. Like, I have a cutoff. I don't answer the phone about business at 6:30, depending on what it is. If I don't get a call before, I'm not gonna tend to it. And so you have to get your customers and the people that you're serving in your route of structure, because I don't think they mean to abuse it. I just think they feel like you're so accessible, then I could just call and I could just reach out, and you're just going to listen to me because you always listen to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I also have personal. So I think it's great that you went to therapy, and I also love the structure that you've built, this coffee shop. And yes, it is cute, but still, it works for you, and it's for your mental health and also your personal business. So thank you for answering that. Tell me, what is important to you about in a company or organization? What is important to you?
Integrity. I think integrity is very important. Like, in communication. I've been in working in HR. When you work in HR, you see the true colors of people. And for me, especially, I'm young in HR. So when I got my promotion as a director, I was 25 years old. And I worked for it. I was not expecting it. To be honest with you, I didn't even want to.
Always a hard worker, though. Like, that's who you are, though. You don't play. You are on it, okay?
I didn't want to take it, and they knew it, but they almost didn't really give me an option. So during the time when I was supposed to get back with them, to the company leaders that I was supposed to speak with, they went on a vacation. So it was kind of like they knew that the kind of worker that I am, that I wouldn't let things fall apart. So I just kind of took things on and I ran with it. However, one of the struggles that I've had is that I'm young. So I think that people recognize I'm a hard worker. I'm not money hungry. I'm a person that's driven by purpose.
Right.
So that's why I would even add that as something that I look for in a company, as a company that's intentional and actually has true purpose. And if your, mindset is just on money, typically I don't do well with people or any kind of,
because they don't care about people.
Yeah, like that doesn't drive me. So
yeah.
I would say integrity. So with me being young, this is what I was gonna say before. I think that I've been in multiple situations at multiple different companies where when it comes down to integrity stuff, they'll look at you like, oh, she's young. She's not, like, we can just pull one over her, or she's not going to say anything. And I was actually in a position where I had to confront a company leader about some issues that lacked integrity. And you would not believe, they were just like, oh, the guy, she said to me, he was just like, you know what? I know you're so smart. He was just like, if you didn't recognize that, I probably would have been disappointed. And I was like, what? Like, I kind of took it as an insult. So basically, you know, what he was saying is like, if you didn't recognize that I was doing,
I wouldn't have fixed it.
Right. So I was just like, okay. So then, like, it just put me in an awkward situation, but I let him know. I was like, well, I'm a person of integrity, so I'm gonna do this right. And like, he never said it to me, but basically what would happen is if they were gonna do something wrong, they made sure they did it behind my back, like, or a way where I couldn't find out, or a way that they couldn't say that she knew. And some people like may say that, oh, you know, at least this person has respect for you, but at the same time, I feel like you don't have respect for my career, my level of professionalism, because you're putting me in a compromising situation. So again, this kind of goes back to, like I said, with me transitioning to just Courtney Saunders.
Right.
Now I'm at the place where I'm just like, hey, this is it. If you don't like it, then
sorry.
So I would say that a place that just operates integrity, you know, a place that has purpose, because if there's no purpose in it and it's just about money, then I don't want it. Because I've been in situations where I've been offered more money, not to solve true problems, but just to, you know, push stuff under. And I'm like, that's just not for me. Like, I've had people that would say, you know what, girl, I would have took that. And it's like,
I'm sure you would have.
So that's why I'm not presented to you.
No, I get it. But yeah, so also I think that is one of the things that people struggle with just in general, having integrity. My mentor, which is also my aunt, we have girls trip every June. I don't know what's happening this June, but every June, all the ladies get together. It's like 5 generations. We get together and we just discuss life. She asks us very tough questions. We talk about everybody's initiatives. Now all the girls, nope. One just got to, yeah. The youngest is 15. And the second oldest is 24. So I'm the oldest of the youngers, and we have a 14-year-old. So she asked us a question. She was like, hey, you're at a shopping mall, and you have a cart. And the cart, to put your cart away, it's like, it's a mile. It's a bop, right? She was like, do you leave the cart in front of the store, or do you take the cart where it belongs? So she went around the table, and everybody's like, oh, I'm leaving the car because that's too long to walk. Like, everybody just being honest, like, not even think about where it's coming from. So I said, you know, I'm a victim. If it's too far, I don't take it all the way to where it was. I just leave it in a position where it's not in front of a car and it's not blocking anyone or blocking anything. So after that, she was like, integrity. So she just stopped, and everybody was just like, dang, we should have known we was running into that. And so she was like, it takes a certain type of person to understand that things go a certain way, and right is right, right? And so if you know that leaving the store, these are where the carts go because this is what the store set up for them to be. Mm-hmm. Why don't you do what they're already subliminally asking you to do? Yes, it's not your job, but it's a responsibility to put things back where they belong. So then we was just like, dang, bro. Like, it kind of changed the way that I thought about very small things, like very minimal things. I have integrity with people, but just giving people back their stuff and like returning something where I left it, like small things like that. I did get better because of that one scenario. And now I got to put the shopping carts back. So my boyfriend be living in the middle. I'm like, no, babe. So like, I'm like pushing it. Yeah, I'm trying to push it back. I'm like, no. He's like, no, somebody's going to get it. I'm like, integrity. So I just push it, you know, to go where it goes. So I love that that is what your life is centered around. And it only makes sense that your business and your passion is just fueled by integrity, because people with integrity, little do other people know, you always end up on top and you always end up getting what you want because you did it the way morally you were able to do. If you did something for the money, you wouldn't be happy. Mm-hmm. I know you wouldn't be happy. Mm-mm. People need to start realizing what actually fuels them and what makes them better people, not what's easy to do. So I appreciate you for not taking the easy route out.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads me, you did kind of touch on a difficult moment that you did have in the workplace. But I want to ask, what is your greatest strength and also what is your greatest weakness? You can start with either or. But yeah.
My greatest strength. I should have these answers off the top of my head.
No, yes, you should. You know what you know.
My greatest strength, honestly, is just being able to be confident. Like especially like right now, with being able to have confidence and self-control. I'm constantly put in weird situations, and I think also with me working in HR, that's the nature of HR. There's no such thing as like a true scheduled day working in HR. But I would say just being able to be confident and then also to have like self-control be my strength. A weakness, I would say, is that this probably gonna sound bad, but I would say just being authentic sometimes, or just being like open to being vulnerable. Because unfortunately, we live in a world where people are not really true with themselves. So when you're being true with yourself, sometimes it kind of puts you as a target. So I think that sometimes that could be my weakness, is just being like authentic, or recognizing like how to draw those lines. So like I was saying with the Instagram, I have 2 different pages. That wasn't a hard time for me, but like I remember there were times where in my blog where I'm just being transparent, and it's like I don't think this is a bad thing. It's a strength and a weakness at the same time. But when you're looking at your audience and the people that you're trying to reach, is just recognizing like to draw a line when it comes sometimes with being authentic or being open about what you speak, but kind of being careful there. Marketing and branding.
Yeah, I think it's admirable that you know what your strength is and what your weakness is. I'm not gonna say therapy's working, but low key, I feel like when you take therapy, when you do therapy, when you sit in therapy, it just helps you question those things anyway, right? And I think the person that is running the session, the therapist, is not out to get you to get to these points. I think they're just being very authentic with you.
Right.
There's no biases. I'm just asking you a question based on what you're telling me. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like small inferences that you already give them. So I think it's great that you're able to see that, offer it, because I know a lot of people struggle with even knowing what a strength of theirs is.
Yeah.
Even a weakness. Everybody knows what a weakness is. Like off the top of your head, you know what's wrong about you.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people don't focus on what's right about you. So turn up for you, sis.
Yes.
And okay, so before we go, last thing. Oh, boom. So this is kind of falling into like the growth mentality. So what is something that you're consciously working on right now? It can be something that is a struggle of yours or interpersonal, because I like people to understand that we're people and people have problems. So it's not just life stuff, it's inner stuff. So like inner wise, what are you working through and working to get out of to become better on the other side?
I would say consistency.
Mm-hmm.
I would say consistency and obedience. So I was actually listening to Pastor Mike Todd this past Sunday. So I've been attending virtual church, and his sermon, it was something about devoted. But anyway, he mentioned in his sermon, he said, delayed obedience is disobedience. And he was talking about how like God will send certain assignments for people, or he'll ask you to do something. And sometimes we might drag it out, or we'll say, oh, I'll do it when I have this, when I have that.
Right.
So most recently with that, I feel like I connected with it. I have a lot of things that God has placed for me to do, assignments that God has put on me to work on and things. And like, I'll put it off. Or I'll say, once I have this equipment, or once I have that, I'll get to it. And he just kind of reminded me when he was preaching, he was just like, you don't know what it is that, or who's out there that's just waiting for that information, or how one simple task that you can do can protect somebody else. It may not necessarily be for your own benefit personally, but it's an assignment to protect somebody else. So I actually started a podcast. And when I started the podcast, my last episode that I did, it was called Miss Call. And it was talking about missing your calling and missing the opportunities, because when you decide not to be consistent, or you decide, you know what, I'm going to take too long of a hiatus, and you have purpose that's within you, one of the things that I found is that I believe, and I stated this in my podcast, I believe that God gives oftentimes multiple people similar visions. You might, produce the vision one way, and another person may produce the vision another way.
Right.
But you have a similar vision that has a similar cause and a similar purpose. And oftentimes, if you don't move fast enough, or if you don't move, somebody else is gonna do it. Now you're really hesitant to doing it, because you don't want to look like you copied somebody else's idea. But God placed and birthed that same thing within you. And I actually was in church, and they were telling a story about, I want to say it was Moses. And he was talking to God, and God was asking him to do something. He was like, but I have a stutter, or I have this, I have that. And it's like God kept sending him to go and do it. And then next thing you know, there was somebody else in position to do it. So it's kind of like, you don't want to miss your calling or miss your purpose by not being consistent or not being obedient.
Right.
Taking too long to work on some things, because I've had some things that God has been asking me to work on. And I have people that remind me, like, hey, when you gonna let this out? Or you gonna do this? And I'm just like, oh, I'll get to it. Like, so I would say that if there's something I'm working on, is just being consistent and obedient to my calling.
Right.
Because, you could be faithful to your 9 to 5, or you can be faithful to certain visions that support other people. But then when it's time to support our own vision or our own calling, we can easily get distracted, of course. So I say that's what I'm working on.
It's very important to recognize that. And it's hard. Like, I get it. Like, you're just not going to wake up and be like, I believe in myself. It takes some time. And it does take some very hard conversations with self, and looking in the mirror, and just being super transparent with who you are and what you're doing. Like, being real with yourself is really hard. You can always pat yourself in the back and say, I can get to that. You had a long day. Justifying your crap is not cool. So in 2020, hopefully, people are learning not to justify their crap, because it will lead you in a worse position. So thank you so much, Courtney, for joining me.
Thank you. I'm so glad we finally got to do this. So
this was amazing. You had so many golden nuggets dropping on the people. I cannot wait to release this. Thank you for coming out. And it was long overdue, but I'm so glad it happened, because I know so many people are going to get something from you. Also, her podcast is called Winging It.
Yes.
What's up? Winging It. So we got a podcast. We got a passionate woman. It's changing. Stay tuned for the change.
Very soon. I'm still waiting on my release date, but it's coming soon.
Right.
All information will be on the Passionate Woman CS. So if you go on my Passionate Woman CS website and you subscribe, you'll be able to get alerts about the new changes. Or if you follow me on Instagram for the Passionate Woman CS, I'll be posting stuff on there. It'll be
So all her information will be below, including the link for the book club. Cheat code. We'll put it there. So you just had one, honestly. You just had one, yes, Sunday.
So we're doing, I typically never do 2 books at the same time. But because everybody's locked in, I was just like, you know what, let me do 2 different books. This book that we did Sunday was Don't Settle for Safe. And this was actually, that was the first time I've done a book that was like spiritual related, or I don't want to say spiritual related, because the book isn't spiritual related. It's just written by a pastor. So that one's by Pastor Sarah Jakes. And then this Thursday, we're going to be doing We're Gonna Need More Wine by Gabrielle Union. So I typically only do 1 at a time. I was like, you know what? I read both of those already, so it'll be easier for me to still be able to manage them, and then other people join in. So
dope. So you heard it here. We got some exclusives popping out. So I'm very excited for Courtney, and I cannot wait to see where this transition and journey and rebranding will take her.
I need to tell you guys about the new website and stuff. So
you said what?
I can probably come back so we can talk about the new website and everything else.
Boom, and there you go. And now we have a second episode. Thank you.
Yes.
So if those who want to watch it, Millennials on the Move YouTube. For those who love listening, the Millennials on the Move podcast is also available on multiple platforms. So whatever you listen to your podcast on, check out Winging It, and also check out Millennials on the Move. And I've got to drop the plug. Let us say it for you. Thank you so much for joining us. Courtney's information will be below. So reach out to her. Thursday is when the next book club meeting is happening. It's on Zoom. Go to her website and check it out. Fill out your information correctly. You may miss out on your blessing if your email is wrong. Thanks, Courtney.
Alrighty, thank you, girl.